Silence is the most faithful accomplice of the secret. This phrase may seem like a poetic aphorism, but in the context of the McCann case, it carries a chilling weight. Imagine an invisible thread connecting Julia Wendell to the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, a connection forgotten while the world was distracted by other headlines. Only 1 in 10,000 cases of missing children are fully resolved, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This leads us to an uncomfortable question. To what extent is the truth sacrificed for the comfort of oblivion? If I told you there is DNA evidence that could change the entire course of this case, would you want to hear more? When my cousin disappeared, I learned what it means to live tethered to this invisible thread of hope and despair. Every ringing phone made our hearts stop. That was when I realized that silence is an emptiness that screams. I had to know. I had to understand. That's when I came across a study in the Journal of Forensic Sciences about how advances in DNA technology could reopen old cases. What if this could lead us to an answer? If science was our ally, why were we still in the dark? The truth is, investigating crimes is like assembling a giant puzzle, where every piece is crucial. But what happens when some pieces are deliberately set aside? The connection between Julia Wendell and the McCann case might be one of those pieces. Think about, silence is not just the absence of words, but the omission of action. For every unsolved mystery, there is a bystander who chose not to act. This makes me wonder, is societal apathy in missing persons cases a manifestation of the bystander effect? Failing to act perpetuates ignorance. What we lose is more than just an answer. It is justice, peace for the families involved. Think of Teresa, a mother who finally found her missing daughter after years thanks to a new DNA test. Her story teaches us that it's possible to turn pain into action, that every second counts, and that we must pull this invisible thread with all our strength. Now let's explore what we really know about Julia Wendell and how her story could rewrite the unresolved past of the McCann case. We can only hope this invisible thread leads us to a long-awaited truth. What if I told you the next revelation could be the key to it all? The truth may be closer than we imagine, and the wait may soon be over. The connection between Julia Wendell and the McCann case is not merely a matter of morbid curiosity. It is a matter of unachieved justice. When I talk about this, I can't help but recall how the mere hope of a lead can be both devastating and invigorating. It's like a lighthouse in the darkness, promising revelations but also exposing deeper shadows. The DNA question is more urgent than it seems. According to a recent study, advances in DNA technology can increase the chances of solving old cases by up to 20%, but only if investigations are reopened. How many cases like Julia's and Madeleine's remain stuck in the limbo of bureaucracy and forgetfulness? Imagine finding an old photograph. You hold it up to the light, searching for hidden details, trying to piece together a puzzle that exists only in your mind. Each small discovery brings a spark of hope, but also the anguish of knowing there is so much more to uncover. This is the dilemma we face. Perhaps you, like me, have felt this firsthand. The uncertainty that erodes, the longing for a truth that always seems just out of reach. It's an emotional suspension that many families of the missing know all too well. Let's talk about Lucas's story, a young boy who mysteriously disappeared at age 8. For years, his mother, Renata, lived haunted by what-ifs, unexpected phone calls, familiar faces in a crowd. Everything was a reminder of what was lost. But she never gave up. Through a DNA test years later, Lucas was found, hundreds of miles away, in a situation no one could have imagined. Renata told me that during all that time, the only thing that kept her going was the belief that every small effort could be the missing piece. Have you ever had to cling to a fragile hope with all your strength? Renata and Lucas's story is not unique, but sadly it's not the norm. The bystander effect is a cruel reality in our society. When everyone waits for someone else to act, often no one does. In missing persons investigations, the results are tragic. Society may be quick to forget, but for families, the memory is eternal. A Journal of Forensic Sciences study confirmed that a lack of proactive action is one of the main reasons investigations remain unsolved. You may have felt this too, waiting for someone to do something while grappling with a sense of helplessness. We must acknowledge that the system is often designed to maintain the status quo. Many cases don't receive the attention they deserve due to misplaced priorities and limited resources. The advances in DNA technology offer a light at the end of the tunnel, but only if they are properly utilized. What's stopping us from exploring these possibilities? Is there a subconscious fear that the truth might be more unsettling than the mystery? I wonder how far we're willing to go to find answers. Imagine a year from now if these cases are sidelined again. Silence would continue to grow and history would repeat itself. But what if we chose to act now? What if the next piece of the puzzle is already waiting to be found, needing only someone to recognize it? That piece could be you or someone you know who refuses to give up on the search for truth. Every second that passes, time seems to be the greatest enemy, but also a powerful ally. It gives us perspective, and with it, urgency. This is the moment to decide whether we'll let silence continue its reign or choose to pull the invisible thread, unmask the secret, and finally hear the truth. What would you do if you knew your action could change everything? Imagine for a moment the invisible thread connecting Julia Wendell to the McCann case. It's not a fictional scenario, but a real possibility that science now allows us to explore. A recent study in the Journal of Forensic Sciences revealed that advances in DNA technology make it possible to re-examine traces previously deemed irrelevant or inconclusive. Here's the pivotal moment. DNA tests conducted on materials collected at the time of Madeleine's disappearance can now be re-evaluated with far greater accuracy. This hasn't been widely publicized, and few know that reanalysis could alter the course of investigations. Why hasn't anyone told us this before? Perhaps because many accept the narrative that time is the enemy of resolution, but the truth is, time combined with technology can be our greatest ally. What was impossible in 2007 is now feasible, and this is the kind of breakthrough that can revive a cold case. Let's debunk a common myth, the idea that time always erases clues. No, it also reveals them when we have the right tools to investigate again. Now let's understand how this solution can be applied in practice. First, ensure that custodians of the original materials, such as hair or fluid samples, authorize a new round of DNA testing. Second, apply new analysis techniques capable of identifying genetic profiles from minimal material. Finally, integrate these new findings with international databases like CODIS to check for global connections. This process isn't complex. It's about using an ever-evolving tool that can be seamlessly integrated into existing investigations. A real example of successful application is the case of Michelle Martinko. Missing for decades, it was only through new DNA analysis that the true culprit was identified and brought to justice. The three critical steps were reviewing evidence, reanalyzing with updated technology, and comparing with genetic databases. This approach not only solved a long-standing mystery, but also brought closure to the family. To validate the effectiveness of this solution, look at the numbers. In the last 5 years, over 25 cold cases in the United States have been solved thanks to advanced DNA technology. This represents a significant increase in resolution rates and is a testament to the transformative potential of this approach. Michelle's sister's testimony highlighted how this innovation finally brought them peace, proving that truth, even when delayed, is an invaluable gift. How can we apply this immediately? Here's a practical exercise. If you or someone you know is involved in an unsolved case, start by reviewing available materials. Contact local authorities to express interest in new DNA analysis. This initiative could be the catalyst needed to reopen investigations. The results can be measured quickly, not only in terms of information, but also in renewed hope and determination. In essence, the invisible thread connecting these events is not just a metaphor, it's a tangible line of action we can follow. When we start pulling this thread, the long-hidden truth begins to reveal itself. That's what truly matters, not letting silence prevail as the secret's accomplice. The question remains, if we knew our action could change everything, would we be ready to pull the thread to the end? To implement the presented solution, start with careful planning. The first step is securing access to the original materials. Contact the authorities responsible for the case and formally request authorization for sample reanalysis. Use project management tools like Trello to track each step, setting a 2-week deadline for obtaining authorization. Next, with samples released, send them to a specialized lab using advanced DNA technology, such as Gene Mapper IDX, which may take 4 to 6 weeks. Step 3. Upon receiving results, integrate them with global databases like CODIS, requiring collaboration with international agencies.
Step is analyzing
Plan the data with DNA analysis software like STRmix, which aids in interpreting complex DNA profiles. Allocate a week for this analysis. Finally, communicate results to stakeholders and determine next steps. Use a platform like Slack to facilitate communication, ensuring everyone is updated and can act quickly. Allow an additional week for adjustments and discussions. During implementation, common pitfalls arise. Ineffective communication between parties can cause delays. Use tools like Slack from the outset to avoid this. Another mistake is underestimating the time required for each step. Adjust deadlines with a buffer for unforeseen issues. A third error is relying on outdated data. Ensure your lab uses cutting-edge technology by validating their capabilities before sending samples. Stay alert for unexpected issues or unclear communications. If a problem arises, quickly gather the team to reassess and adjust the plan. To measure progress, establish clear metrics. First, track the total time from authorization to results. A shorter than expected timeline indicates efficiency. Second, assess the accuracy of new DNA results by comparing them to prior records. Finally, monitor the success rate of data integration into CODIS. A high rate signals success. Initial results can be expected within 8 weeks of sending samples. To streamline the process, consider task automation software like Zapier to integrate steps and reduce manual work. An advanced tip is to maintain an updated log of all contacts and interactions for quick adjustments and transparency. After mastering the basics, consider scaling your efforts. Explore collaborating with institutions, investigating similar cases, forming a support network. Use platforms like ResearchGate to connect with forensic genetics researchers and experts. This not only broadens your efforts, but can also bring new perspectives and solutions. Every small step counts, and the truth, even when delayed, is a worthy goal. Continuing to pull the invisible thread may unlock not just one, but many unsolved mysteries. Prepare for the next phase, where we'll explore how these discoveries could transform the narrative as we know it. Looking back on this intense and revealing journey, we realize how each piece of this emotional puzzle has transformed us. From agonizing silence to the possibility of finally hearing the truth, this journey was far more than an investigation. It was a rediscovery of who we are when confronted with injustice and mystery. Before, we were merely curious, seeking answers amid informational chaos. Now, we are part of something greater, connected by this invisible thread that ties us to every unsolved case. I must confess something personal. There were moments when frustration and skepticism nearly made me give up. But it was your presence, your relentless pursuit of truth, that gave me the strength to continue. Together, we validated the importance of our voice and recognized the courage to ask questions many prefer to ignore. Now, imagine a future where these cases are not just forgotten stories, but milestones of transformation. Picture every DNA discovery as a ray of hope illuminating the path to justice. How will you wake up tomorrow knowing your engagement, your action, could truly rewrite the fate of so many stories? Consider the ripple effects on your relationships, the impact of living in a world where truth prevails. This is the vision that drives us, an active community determined to make a difference. And that future begins now, with each of us playing a vital role in this narrative. To those who've made it this far, I invite you to share your reflections in the comments. What did you feel throughout this journey? How have these revelations shaped your understanding of justice and truth? Together, we can build a support network where each comment is a piece of this collective puzzle. Let's unite, not as mere spectators, but as a community that values truth. In return, I promise to keep bringing stories that challenge and inspire us as we create a space for dialogue and action. Finally, if you found value in this journey, consider contributing via Super Chat. Your participation is more than support. It's an investment in the ongoing pursuit of justice. Each contribution strengthens our ability to seek and share hidden truths. And as you do, prepare for the next video, where we'll explore new invisible threads that could unravel even more mysteries. Because in every corner of doubt there's a real promise waiting to be revealed. Remember, silence is the most faithful accomplice of the secret, but we are the ones who choose to break that silence and discover what lies beyond.